Yeah, that's perfect then. Yeah, so like I said, it's basically just a session to um, go a bit more in depth in terms of the updates on what we're working on in the background. Probably have an overview of the project so far, and yeah, give the opportunity for people in the chat to ask any questions that they may have. Um, so you guys probably know we're working on a few projects, on a few products. Actually, we're working simultaneously on a few products, a few features of products as well. I'm gonna start with the big one, which is probably AidiCraft. We all know that we launched AidiCraft at the end of October, but unfortunately, we had an issue that stemmed from the high gas, and it made it basically almost impossible for people to mint. I tried to put some art of myself, and I got fees of about $12,000, which doesn't make a lot of economic sense for most, if not for all. Um, and so what we decided to do was to implement a lazy minting feature, which basically means that the artists will be able to list their NFTs at little to no cost. So there will be no gas fees for listing art on AnyCraft. Because I know there are a few projects waiting to see what's happening in that regard, waiting to see what we do. And I also know that there's lots and lots of community members looking forward to listing their art as well. So when this happens, what we expect to see is a lot of volume in terms of the trading on the platform when the gas fees are sorted out. And hopefully this volume will translate into more purchases of the Verse tokens. The Verse tokens having a lot more volume would also lead to a lot more buybacks and burns for 80. So it's going to be almost like a domino effect. So one thing should affect the other, and the other thing should affect the next, and all of these would be positive impacts as well. We're also doing um, we're currently doing alpha testing for the Wallet Connect feature. If you have used AidiCraft, then you probably know that at the moment the only option you have to connect your wallet is via MetaMask, so directly via MetaMask, and that's MetaMask on your PC. So we've set up Wallet Connect, and now we're just doing alpha testing. So it's the leadership team that has been doing the testing, I think, for the last couple of days. And so far, so good. I think I tweeted that today. So far, so good on my side, anyways. I haven't had any issues. I tested on a few different wallets and it works fine. But obviously, the devs would keep doing some more testing on there, um, just to make sure that everything is, spot on before we can release that in on the main net. So ETA for the release is probably the next few days. I can't give you an exact day, but I'm hoping within 7 days we should see the Wallet Connect feature on mainnet. In terms of lazy minting, development started a few weeks ago, and we're doing everything we can to get that sorted before the end of the year. So by this month's end. We also have 80 swap version 2, which is about 95% done. That should be released within a week or so. Uh, so what 80 swap version 2 basically does is it allows, currently you can only swap tokens on the ERC network. It will basically allow users to be able to toggle and swap both ERC um, and BSC tokens as well. So you'll be able to use AD swap to buy AD BSC or to swap any BSC for any other BSC token. And I think there's some few other features that are being added on there. Then we have AD Connect as well. For those who don't know what AD Connect is, it's basically a crypto tracker and analytic software or web app, should I say. And yeah, work on that is done, is like 75% finished. The interface looks lovely, I have to tell you. I think we shared the first mock-up of the interface early on, but I think they've done some wonderful enhancements, and it looks quite lush. I'm sure it's something that would bring more eyes to the project. I'm very certain of that. Again, the devs are working round the clock to make sure that all of these um, products and features are done and dusted by the year's end. So probably before we get into 2022, we should have all of these up and running and live. Uh, so yeah, the devs are putting in lots and lots of work. I think that's probably why you'd probably see a bit less of the devs than you normally do. It's just because it's very tasking working on different fronts all at the same time. So um, let's just appreciate that and just give them the space that they need to do their work, and we can continue with the efforts to grow the community and try to market the project as much as we can. Um, I know that a lot of people probably have spoken about, I mean, it always comes up, marketing, and I do understand because our plans, according to our plans, according to the way that we set everything up, this period, this December period, should have been the period where we do lots and lots of marketing. We're planning to do some very very great stuff. We had a big budget for marketing, um, about 150K or so, that we had set aside to do that. But unfortunately, we have to go back to what happened. Everyone should be aware. For those who aren't aware, a month or so ago, I think towards the end of October, VB did us dirty and dumped the LP tokens. And so we were faced with dilemma. The liquidity pool of ETH in particular was very severely hit. I think we lost about 6 to 700,000 that night from the liquidity pool. And what we've been doing is we had to basically prioritize stabilizing that pool over, marketing. Um, so far we've added about 160K in there, with more to be added before the end of the year. And yeah, so basically marketing hasn't stopped. We're still marketing, probably not as much as we should have, because we're trying to go quite big. We're trying to do something that will bring a lot of hype. So it's just been postponed, and I'm hoping that it's only been postponed for like a month or so, because we're working in the background to gather some funds to go big again. So I know a lot of people are asking when the big marketing that was promised. Please don't think that you were told porcupines or lies or anything. Unfortunately, we found ourselves in a situation where, we had to take a step or two back and, readjust our priorities, just push marketing down the scale of preference just a little bit. So the pool is slowly stabilizing, and hopefully, like I mentioned, in the next month or so, we should have a bit more money to put into the liquidity pool, and as well as enough funds to go big with the marketing, just as we planned and just as we promised. So again, it's just a cry to bear with us and just be aware that we're thinking about these things, but it's more about the situation that we find ourselves in than a blatant disregard for the fact that marketing is an important part of any product or any project. I think I'll probably take the opportunity to say a big thank you because I have noticed there's a concerted effort by a few members of the community. They've rallied together and they've been doing a lot of grassroots marketing. The Twitter, I mean, if you go on Twitter now and you type in 80 or 80 gang or 80 craft or 80 verse or verse, there's so many Twitter posts about us. So we're getting there. We're getting a bit more visible. I'm not saying it's the end product, but I think the community is finally stepping up in a big way, and I can only say thank you because the general behavior, the general tendency when things are a bit quiet, when things are a bit down, is for people to get into their shell and probably just wait for things to get better automatically. But I've seen the opposite this time around. This time around, the project is a bit cold because the devs are working on other products. There's not been any new releases in a bit, but people have been chilling. People have been chilling. People have been talking about the project, and I can only say thank you. And just as Julia mentioned, while waiting for the big marketing push, if we could just keep doing that, that would just keep us relevant, Because the thing is, you want to stay relevant. You don't want people to stop listening to you. You don't want people to stop hearing about you. You don't want people to stop seeing your name. So if we stay relevant in these periods where, it's relatively cold, relatively quiet, then yeah, it basically props up and primes up for when we have a big marketing push to really bring that hype and buzz. So yeah, thank you guys. And Julien, I would just use this opportunity to say you're doing an amazing job on Twitter. I mean, you're shitting like crazy. So thank you for that. And I could call a few other names, uh, Diamond Hand John. So my man Extreme was a leader, was always in the chat. Uh, I think we have Mersad was doing an amazing job with the Persian community. He's rallied them really well. Uh, who else is there? I mean, there's so many people. Three star guy. We've got Ban. Ban is always chilling. We've got Air Meter, Crypto Chile doing an amazing job with the Spanish community. We've got Patrick Benjamin. So many people to thank. And like I said, if we just keep pushing and staying relevant, then when the big marketing comes, we will have laid that platform, laid that foundation for us to, really, really take off.
Thank you, Chris. Merci beaucoup. Merci. Merci.
De rien, mon frère, de rien. Are there any questions in the chat? Let me see. Someone asked about Shiba Swap. So it's still very much in the works. They did mention to us about the sleeve test um, that could possibly not require the listing fees, but they've not been forthcoming with any responses to that because we wanted to know what the criteria are and to see how we could qualify for that. But they've not been forthcoming with any responses. So um, by default, listing on Shiba Swap still entails us, having 50,000 to burn, 25,000 sheep and 25,000 leash. So far we're still about 22 or 21,670 pounds, sorry, dollars short. Um, there are alternatives. We have the alternative of probably listing on SiteMask, but the problem with SiteMask is that it's not live yet. So the product is not live yet. So I mean, listing on there or probably be more hypothetical than realistic in the sense that the product isn't live yet. So we may have an announcement from the Saitama Inu community, which will probably bring more eyes to us and probably cause a bit of hype. But in terms of the actual listing on an exchange where we'll be able to trade on there, that won't happen for a while. As far as I know, they're waiting for a CERTIC audit, the outcome of the CERTIC audit before they can go live. Um, the thing with CERTIC audits is that they don't normally happen within a matter of days. It could take weeks, it could take months. Nobody really knows. So basically, I would say the two options we have are keep pushing for Shiba Swap and try to see how we could get 32,000 in, or we could list for Saitama, the Saitamask exchange. I think the minimum listing package on there is 20,000, so that leaves us only a 1,700 shortfall. If we take into account the pledges from the leadership, it basically means that we qualify for Saitama already, the Saitama listing. Again, it's probably something for the community to decide if they want us to include Saitama as an option. Because originally, as you know, the contributions were meant for Shiba Swap. So I hope I answered your question, Crypto Chile. Do we have any other questions, guys?
Question from the chat. Would it be possible to add a percentage completion bar for the product that is being worked on the website? I think it would help add clarity and people could see how far the product is from being released.
Yes, Benjamin, that's probably a great idea. I'll run it by the devs and the web developer. It's certainly something that we can do. Adding the percentage completion bar for the products on the website. Yeah, that's a great idea. It gives a visual guide as well to the audience, to the community, so they can know what's going on in terms of the progress at least. So yeah, that's a great idea, Benjamin. Thanks for that.
This is a response to the comment. Would be great to be listed on SataMass and as you said, would help with marketing.
Yeah, so so I mean, I guess as a community, we probably have to talk about whether or not we want to stay with Saitama, sorry, stay with ShibaSwap, or if we consider Saitama as a listing alternative. Since it's taken so long for us to go above the 18,000 mark, we'll probably pull it. I don't know if we do consider that a serious contender or a serious alternative. We would probably pull it, and people have their say by voting.
Question from the chat. Chris, about ID Connect. Do you think it will be available during December?
Yeah, well, like I said, it's 75% done, and we are now on the 1st of December. So it's 75% done, which basically means that because work on this started, I think on the 8th of November, we started full development of Lady Connect. So it's taken us about 3.5 weeks to get to 75% done. So there are chances, the chances are very, very high that we will finish work on the project this month itself. Now, I don't want to give you a date because if we don't meet it, it may seem as though, we are delaying things and stuff like that. But what I would say is that it's looking very likely, highly likely, that AD Connect will be ready and live in December. So there's a high likelihood. Things could happen. We could discover some bugs when the development is done and we are testing. But as of now, development is going very well. So we've like I mentioned, the devs are working almost around the clock. So yeah, so hopefully before the end of the year, we should all be able to access AD Connect on the web app.
Hey guys, how you doing? This is Augusto. I have a question, if you guys don't mind.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, of course, Augusto.
hey man, so this is the question. I'm translating as I'm reading this. It says, I have a question for the AMA people. Now that we have this is them, okay? So I mean, now that we have a lot of our leaders and doing their own projects. Now, what are we doing with the empty spots? No, they left. They abandoned the ship. Again. I'm just reading what they're telling me. Okay. They just left. They abandoned us with their own projects. So, what are the option? It says, what are the options for shilling ID at the end of the day? Again, I'm just reading what he told me in Spanish, and I'm just translating that. I
No,
guess
that's
his
fine. That's
concern is
fine.
about our leaders leaving, stuff like that. Again, that's not me. It's just I'm translating.
That's a good point, though.
All right. I'm pretty sure that this has been spoken about time and time again. So it's basically like us doing like a couple of steps forward and then three steps back. Is there anybody here who invests in just a single token? Most people don't. Most people invest in multiple tokens because you try to diversify your portfolio as a way of reducing risk and also as a way of maximizing profits when things are good. Now, the leaders, the leadership team is made of. I think we've mentioned that as well. Is made of mainly. It's made up of volunteers, so investors like yourselves who decided to take a bigger role in the project. All right. Now,
Correct.
yes, yes, a few of them decided to, work on a different project for some time, which is their right. But none of them have abandoned the project. Saying that they've abandoned the project is a bit premature and a bit unfair. Um, they just needed some space to do their own thing just for a bit, and they're doing that. Like we mentioned before, they're not bound by any contract, and so they had the right to do that. Um, the project continues. The leaders are still there. We are still talking with them. They are still attending our regular meetings, so they haven't abandoned the project. Like we mentioned before, yes, they started something different, but it should bear no bearings. Let's focus on the project that we have at hand. If you look at their social media profiles and everything, you would still see that it's still heavily, there's still a heavy AD influence there. So let's not focus on what individuals do, because the project is not just about the leaders. The project is about the community, and the community trumps all. So as long as we don't have, as long as we're not losing holders in droves and things like that, this should not really be a cause for concern. We've spoken about this time and time again. These are guys who've given their blood, sweat, and tears to AD. If they're trying to take a break, although they aren't taking a break, but if they're trying to take a break, let's just be understanding of it. All right, guys. Um, we don't want to start antagonizing others because they've decided to, you know, make a decision or take a step back. So let's please focus on the project. I think that's the most important thing. So, Augusto, you can tell the guys that one, the leaders haven't abandoned the project. We're still working with them in the background. They're still as responsive as ever. All right, and two, they should understand that the leaders were investors or are investors, just like you and I. We just had a greater responsibility, and yeah, they're just taking a step back to do their own thing. But doing their own thing does not mean abandoning AD, because they're still very much with us. Okay, guys, do we have any other questions?
So I guess one of my main questions is just on curiosity on the NFT market and maybe how we're looking towards getting more volume towards that and more buying and selling and making the marketplace maybe a little getting more commerce and updating or not updating but getting that flowing a little bit better.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually the first thing I touched on, and I'm guessing you weren't on yet. So I'll just repeat, just because you've asked now. So yes, so
Oh,
one of the main reasons for no volume on the marketplace is because of the high listing fees. If artists have to pay very high listing fees to get their art onto the platform, then what happens is that almost nobody lists their art, and if there's no art on there, then nobody can buy as well. So we're working on two things. One, to make it more accessible, so people can access the marketplace and connect their wallets from mobiles and from other wallets other than just MetaMask, because that's the only option that's currently there. So we're currently doing the alpha testing of the Wallet Connect feature, and I was just explaining to everyone that the tests so far were very good. I tested it personally for the last couple of days on different wallets, and it's fine. So that makes it easy in terms of accessibility. And then you have the second part, which is the main part, which has to do with the high gas fees. And what we're doing is we are implementing lazy minting, which is basically a feature that allows for the artists to list their art on the marketplace for little to no fees. So lazy minting is in development, and we're hoping to get this up and running before the end of the year. There is no estimated date of delivery yet, but the devs are working around the clock to make sure that this can be done within the next 4 weeks. So when this happens, what we're expecting to see is more people listing their art on the project, sorry, on the marketplace. Because I know for a fact that there's a few projects that are waiting to see what we do in that regard. We also have a lot of the community members that have prepared art to list on the marketplace as well. So these already should bring us a lot of volume in terms of trading of the NFTs, and that volume should translate itself into more transactions with Verse. The more transactions you have with Verse, the more regular and frequent buybacks and burns you have for ADE. So we have a domino effect of about two or three things happening to positively impact the ecosystem as a whole. Yeah. Also, I saw people keep talking about exchanges. I'll just dwell on it for a little bit. Not too long on there. Now, the thing with the central exchange is it's a great platform in terms of accessibility to a token. It's easier for a lot of people to buy and trade a token on a central exchange because the fees normally are lower than gas fees and things like that. But in terms of the direct impact on the token prices, there's little or no effect in the sense that what drives the token price is normally, especially for tokens like ours, is the transactions that happen on the DEX. So transactions happening on Uniswap, on PancakeSwap, and things like that. So yes, we could end up listing on an additional two to three exchanges, but they would do nothing for the price. Probably would have a one day period of maybe a bit more volume, uh, but it wouldn't really change much. However, we could list on a top tier CX, so a top tier central exchange, and then we could basically use the hype that comes from us listing on that top tier exchange and maybe the buzz from it, use that piggyback from that, and probably use that as a marketing tool. But it's only worth it if you go for a top tier exchange, because if we keep listing on tier two or tier threes, it really does nothing much um, for the project as a whole. And these aren't cheap as well. We're talking 25 to 50,000 for most of them, and some of them even go as high as 80,000. So yeah, it's just about being smart with money, because we've done that before and we've measured the impact that it has, and it doesn't really translate very positively in terms of the price.
Also, Chris, I just wanted to mention when you do purchase these tokens on these exchanges, you're not going to see the redistribution of them. No reward.
Exactly. Yeah, you've got that as well. You've got that as well. So no, we aren't against listing on exchanges, but we just want to list on the ones that matter. And unfortunately, the ones that matter at the moment, there's two things. One, they're either too expensive at the moment for where we are, or two, we don't meet the criteria in terms of average daily volume and the minimum number of holders that they would like us to have. Binance, for instance, asks you to have about 250,000 holders. We're quite a bit short of that. Uh, and for some of them, I know Git.io gave us a quote for $250K. Uh, KuCoin wants us to have an average daily volume of about 2 million, which again we aren't meeting that threshold. So it's about having a marketing push, which we hope to have soon, a big marketing push, increase the number of holders, increase the volume, and then we can go back to talking with them, because we initiated talks with most of the tier one exchanges as well already, so we know what they need from us. So it's just about meeting those criteria, and then yeah, having the funds to pay for it, and where we go.
I also seen just now on Telegram, it said a release on January 22nd, a game. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, so we're not releasing a game in January 2022. I think there's probably some misunderstanding there. What's happening is that um, in January 2021, sorry, 2022, oh, time flies, man. Basically, the main focus and almost the sole focus of the developers would be on AD PlayFi. So PlayFi, the gaming platform. Game development has started. Architecture work on the platform has started as well. The devs hired a team, I think last month they mentioned. So there's work going on. So from January 2022, what's happening is that full development on the platform is going to start because at the moment attention is a bit divided because there's updates going for 80 Swap, which has been updated to the new version, 80 Craft, which has been upgraded as well, and then you have 80 Connect, which is being built from the ground up. So these are expected to be sorted out by the end of the year, such that in January 2022, the focus can be solely on PlayFi. It doesn't mean PlayFi is going to be released in January 22. It's just that the full development, the full focus of the devs is going to be on it and solely on it from January 22. I hope I clarified any doubts.
Question from the chat. How long will game development take? Will it take 1 month, 2 months, a year? Can you clarify that for me?
No, it's 3 to 6 months. Could be before. We're hoping it's going to be before. It's 3 to 6 months to get because it's not just a game we're building. You see, we're building a platform that will be able to host a variety of games. But I mean, these things once you start fully working on the development, then you have a better idea of the time frame that is going to take. So hopefully, we will be able to give you a more accurate, more accurate than now, um, ETA for the completion of PlayFi. But yeah, it's not released in January 22. Just that the full effort, the full development efforts on it, start in January 22. So yeah, any more questions, guys?
We've got no questions, guys. Thank you very much for everything. Thank you for the faith. Thank you for the patience. Thank you for the belief. And yeah, we're on the right path. It's just a matter of time, not a matter of if, just a matter of when. And yeah, we shall get to the proverbial moon together. So I'm really happy to be part of the project. I'm really happy to be part of the community. I couldn't have asked for a better team. I couldn't have asked for a better community. Seeing the efforts of some, just reinforces my faith and belief in the whole thing. So, thank you, guys.